We spot some oak leaves on the leisurely Cordilleras Trail. At first glance, interior live oak and coast live oak leaves look very similar. Both belong to the red oak subgenus, and their leaf margins typically have bristle-like teeth, although the margins may be smooth. However, an important distinguishing feature between the two is that the leaves of the interior live oak are flat, not convex like their coast live oak cousins. Another difference is that coast live oak leaves have fine tufts of hair on their underside, where the lateral veins meet the central midline vein, whereas interior live oak leaves are hairless. We see a huge vine of manroot or wild cucumber to the right of the trail. It is a good example of how a particular species copes with the dry summer. As soon as it starts raining during the wet season, it grows very rapidly, like Jack's beanstalk. It spreads out, drapes itself over bushes and other plants. When it is done growing, the plant dries up to conserve its resources and no longer bothers the plants it's draped over. This is unlike ivy, which kills the plants it covers while it grows. While manroot grows, it charges its massive tuberous root, which sometimes takes the shape of a person, as shown here. A root found at the Rancho Santa Ana Botanic Gardens weighed 467 pounds. This root gets the plant through the dry season and gives it the resources to grow quickly in the next wet season. The root contains a chemical that stuns fish, and Native Americans fished by tossing pieces of pulverized roots into ponds and streams. The spiny green cucumber structures on the vine are the fruit. Shiny black seeds fall out of the fruit when it is ripe. This beautiful blue witch bush is part of a large and diverse family of plants called nightshades. Most of these plants are poisonous, such as the well-known ornamentals belladonna, or deadly nightshade, angel's trumpet, and tobacco plant, all of which can cause anything from skin irritation, rapid heartbeat, and hallucinations to seizures and even death. Were you aware that some of your favorite vegetables belong to the nightshade family? Examples include tomatoes, eggplant, potato and sweet potato, sweet and hot peppers, and goji berry. You may wonder, is it dangerous to eat nightshade vegetables? Cleveland Clinic states that there is no scientific evidence indicating negative health consequences of eating these vegetables. Do not eat blue witch, as it is poisonous. If you look closely, you can see it's related to tomatoes. The flowers look like tomato flowers, except that they are bluish purple. They start flowering in February and last until June. Blue witch fruits look like small purple tomatoes. They typically grow in the understory of chaparral, as well as oak woodland, where there are spots open to sun. Polygerasi Trail takes us into oak woodland. Polygerasi was a local hiker and conservationist. After she passed away, her friends and family named the trail in her honor. The first wildflower we see is milkmaids that are early spring bloomers and belong to the mustard family. They like to grow in moist, shady woodland areas. Like other mustards, they have 4 petals and 4 sepals, 6 stamens, and half-inch diameter white to pale pink flowers. The white stigma sits atop a green style in the middle of the 6 stamens. The ovary develops into a long, slim seed pod that holds 10 to 18 brown seeds. Milkmaids are the host plant for Sarah orange-tip butterfly. Another woodland plant is the Pacific sanicle that blooms in early spring. It flowers in small, spherical clusters that can contain up to 20 flowers at the ends of long, branching stems. They are from the carrot family. Their leaves are thick and textured. Native Americans made a poultice of the leaves and used it for rattlesnake bites and wounds. Its seeds are armed with sturdy prickles with hooks that are perfect for hitching a ride on animal fur or our clothes. Behind the Pacific sanicles is a large wavy leaf soap plant. It has characteristic light green, 1 to 2 foot long, wavy edged leaves that distinguish it from other plants like the Fremont star lily. Soap plant blooms in late spring and only at night. Its flower has 6 white petals, each with a green midvein, 6 yellow-tipped stamens, and a style. At the end of the night, the flowers liquefy. Soap plant has many varied uses by Native Americans. Early spring leaves can be steamed and eaten like spinach, and the green juice exuded from broken leaves or sap can be used as a glue. It has a fibrous root that contains saponins, or soap, that was put in water to stupefy fish. If the bulb is roasted overnight, it becomes sweet and can be eaten. Last but not least, the root was used to make brushes. We spot a giant trillium on the left side of the trail. It is one of the spectacular flowers found in Pulgas Ridge Preserve. A single whorl of 3 leaves up to 6 inches long is directly attached to its stem. The leaves are dark green, often mottled with blotches of brown or purple color. This plant takes 5 years to flower and flowers in the winter and spring. There is 1 large flower per stem that can be burgundy, like this one, or yellow or white. It has 3 green sepals up to 3 inches long and 3 erect petals up to 4 inches long. Its ovary is attached above the sepals and petals. The burgundy stamens are concealed by the petals. We pass by a hillside that has burrows in the soil that were made by endangered Ohlone tiger beetle larvae, an insect that is endemic to California and likes to make its home in hard-packed clay soil. The larvae dig their own burrow, and after entering the hole backwards, hook their tail to the walls of the burrow to secure themselves in the den. Once in its burrow, it is well camouflaged because its face is flat against the surface of the soil. It patiently waits for prey to pass by to feed on. The adult beetle is a spectacular bright green with bronze tints. This open woodland wildflower that blooms in the spring goes by a variety of names including checker lily, chocolate lily, and mission bell. The leafy flowering stalk reaches up to 4 feet tall and carries up to 12 cup-like flowers that face down. Their 6 yellow petals have a unique and delicate pattern of complementary purple and brown mottling, with green on the inside of the petals. You can see 6 stamens and 3 pistils in the center of the flower. In the shady, moist woodlands of the Polygerasti Trail, we find a number of ferns. Ferns are one of the oldest groups of plants on the earth, with fossil records dating back to more than 380 million years ago. This fern's scientific name comes from its 5-lobed triangular fronds. If you turn over this small fern's fronds, you will see a powdery gold covering that prevents dehydration. During the dry season, its fronds curl up and the plant looks dead, but as soon as it rains or other moisture is available, they reopen and it comes back to life. Goldback fern fronds are a favorite snack of dusky-footed woodrats. Goldback ferns are in the same family as these maidenhair ferns. Maidenhair ferns have much more delicate fronds. These also die back during drought and rejuvenate after rain. These polyplody ferns are also called rock polyplody because they like to grow on rocks. The root of the polyplody fern is sweet and contains sugars, tannin, and oils. This is why the Spanish made a tea of the roots. Another fern along the trails is wood fern, whose leathery fronds like to reach in all directions from clusters of stalks. As you may remember, ferns do not flower or produce seeds. Instead, their reproductive organ, sporangia, produces spores that can be brown, black, yellow, or orange patches found on the underside of their leaves. On the ground, we spot 2 large, vivid green leaves mottled with maroon color. Looking more closely, we see exquisite, deep purple and cream-striped flowers between the 2 leaves, which each have 3 yellow and purple mottled sepals, 3 petals, and 3 stamen. If you dare to smell the flower, you will be overcome by the aroma of dead meat. This is where its common name, fetid adder's tongue, was derived and how it attracts one of its pollinators, tiny fungus gnats. We can see the green ovary and pistil is at the center of the flower, above the petals and sepals. This wildflower is part of the lily family, loves shady forests, and blooms in January and February. When the plant flowers, the ovaries droop toward the ground and the fleshy seeds fall on the forest floor. This allows another pollinator, ants, to help spread its seeds. Ants love their tasty seed and carry them away from the parent plant, eat the fleshy part of the seed, then bury the remainder in the ground, protecting them from forest fires and hungry rodents. We notice some 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide and 1 inch tall towers protruding from the forest floor between ferns, moss, and other plants. These are the homes of turret spiders, found only in moist woodlands of California. These spiders are highly susceptible to dehydration, so their young don't stray far before they build their own towers. This is why we see so many in the same location. Their turrets are lined with white silk, and the exterior is covered with moss, mud, twigs, and/or leaves to provide camouflage. Silk provides structural support and helps the spider incorporate debris when building the turret. The turrets can be up to 6 inches deep. Turret spiders are a relative of trapdoor spiders and tarantulas, and their common name came from the turrets they build. It is estimated that they have been on this earth between 80 to 100 million years. Females live about 16 years and never move out of their turret. Males live 8 to 10 years until they leave their turret to find a mate and then die. When the spider feels the vibrations of approaching prey, they figure out which direction to come out, pounce, and swing their venomous fangs down like pickaxes. Then they drag their prey into the turret. We start on the section of the dusky-footed wood rat trail that is open and full of sunshine. This trail is named after small, cinnamon to gray-colored rodents with long whiskers, rounded ears, and furry tails. The name dusky-footed refers to their dark-colored feet. The trail takes us through chaparral, vegetation composed of broad-leaved evergreen shrubs, bushes, and small trees that form dense thickets. We see chaparral pea, brittle-leaf manzanita, toyon, chamise, sandy pygmy-weed, and more. Chaparral pea has a pale green color to reflect more of the sun's light, and their leaves are small. Both features conserve water. Its flower is bright pink. Another plant that makes its home in chaparral is a low-lying, spreading shrub called brittle-leaf manzanita. From winter to spring, this manzanita blooms white to pale pink flowers that look like upside-down bells. Brittle-leaf manzanita is the host plant for the elegant sheep moth, a large orange and black moth that is easily mistaken for a butterfly when in flight. Females lay their eggs in rings on the stems of the manzanita bush. The next chaparral shrub we see on the trail is California lilac, whose species includes many colorful, highly fragrant plants. Its scientific name comes from the Greek word for spiny plant because there are small spines at the edge of their leaves. With clusters of flowers that are white to blue to lilac, its fruit is a black or purple capsule that appears in summer. Looking closely at this California sagebrush, we see some white, woolly-looking growths on its stems. There are 237 species of insects associated with sagebrush, and almost 20% of the insects form galls. The predominant gall-forming insect for sagebrush is the gall midge, a family of tiny flies that lay their eggs on the stems. When the eggs hatch, the larvae secrete saliva that causes abnormal plant cell growth surrounding the larvae. This gall is caused by the sagebrush woolly stem gall midge. Lomadium dasycarpum, also called woolly fruit desert parsley, blooms from March to June. Pom-poms of tiny greenish-yellow flowers cluster at the top of their stems. The flowers appear white because of the abundant, fuzzy white hairs covering the blossoms and stems. This desert parsley is the host plant for 3 kinds of swallowtail butterflies. After reaching the highest elevation of the park with panoramic views of varied plant communities the preserve supports, as well as views of the bay, we continue on the open section of the dusky-footed woodrat trail to see chaparral currant, a shrub that blooms from winter to spring. It has clusters of fragrant pink flowers that attract hummingbirds, and its edible berries are eaten by birds. Some people use the leaves in peppermint tea. Suncups are sun-loving wildflowers that are low to the ground and like to grow on the edge of trails, which means they are susceptible to foot traffic. They have 4 bright yellow petals and sepals, 8 stamens, 1 yellow pistil with a knobbed tip, and have wide, wavy-edged leaves with pointed tips. Its ovary is below the petals and sepals, often underground. Heading back into the shady forest, we see a wildflower with long-stalked leaves at its base. It is called Pacific hound's-tongue, and its common name was inspired by the shape of its leaves. Pacific hound's-tongue has a cluster of deep blue petaled flowers with white petal appendages at its center. This flower is a host plant for the forget-me-not caterpillar that feeds on the leaves. The caterpillar becomes a large, colorful moth with an orange neckline that contrasts its black wings and white patches. Did you know that poison oak, or western poison ivy, has fragrant flowers? These flowers provide nectar for bees, and its berries provide food for birds and mammals who do not react to the plant like we do. Native Americans boiled parts of the plant to make a juice that, when left in the sun, turned black and was used to dye their baskets. This warrior plume has a stout stem, fern-shaped leaves, and clusters of deep red to bright pink flowers with toothed petals. It is considered a hemiparasite because, if necessary, it can use its specialized root structures to penetrate the roots of other nearby plants, such as oaks and manzanitas, to steal nutrients and water. Warrior plume can be confused with Indian paintbrush and purple owl's clover that can have similar flower structure, but warrior's plume grows in woodlands, and paintbrush and owl's clover do not have fern-like leaves.